talk about hot tip 1, hot tip 2. But first, I want you to get out the article, Willing to be Disturbed. That's okay. Can you kind of remember? Yes. Okay. Well, you know what? Just put in Willing to be Disturbed article. Okay. I think it'll come up. Or if you just sit by somebody that has it somewhere close.
I know. I'm like so ready for the binders. And he's like, don't start on the binders. And he has them. All right.
I would start my binder right now. I know I had to read this article, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? Sorry. Life takes over and the student teaching stuff. And anyway. So here we are. In management, I got this article from the State Office of Education when I was on the Science Curriculum Committee. And they said we need to think about science differently. We were getting new standards, NGSS standards, and they said we need to think about science differently. We need to think about science as problem solving and letting kids explore the world around them. And they said, many of you want to do the experiment, you want to type it out, you want to say, this is what you learned, write it. And they're saying, you got to flip. You got to be disturbed. We're not going to do things that way anymore. So then I took it and I went to math and I thought, okay, well, math was different. Saxon math was different. When I was young, and this will date me, they called it the new math. Our parents all freaked out. Okay? Willing to be disturbed means that when they came out with Common Core Math and Common Core Language Arts, as a parent, as a teacher, you didn't freak out and say, oh my gosh, you're telling us exactly what to teach and how to teach it. That was the main complaint from parents and teachers. You are telling us to not be us, to not be individual, and to teach it your way. Absolutely not. So they came out with this article and they had us read it. Willing to be disturbed. Which simply to me, there are areas in it, I'm going to ask you in a minute, what did you take from it? Be willing to listen without having to come back. So what you're saying is, many times we listen to somebody, but it's like, so I just went to see a student teacher, and I'm sitting there trying to talk to her about, you did really well, this was awesome, this was awesome, this was awesome. You might want to pay attention to this and be a little careful about this, and your learning objective was not measurable. Well, it's always measurable, it just depends on how you look at it. Oh, okay, now I'm not trying to criticize, I'm just saying it would be more measurable if you use this word or this word. Do you think the kids understood? And she said, well, of course they did. And I said, ask them. Kids, what did we learn today? About all kinds of animals. Well, it was about waves. Okay. Missed the boat there. The communication, the objective was not communicated in the right way. It was too broad. Okay? And I just said, you did a fabulous job teaching, and they really did learn, but did they learn what you wanted them to learn? It's okay to get criticism. It's okay to take that criticism with a grain of salt or whatever you want, but usually people are giving you that to make you better. And so I hope that you can get a thicker skin and say, I want to be the best teacher I can be. The only time we would ever criticize anything you did is if we think you can make it better by. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sitting in the back of a classroom watching you teach, it's really easy for me to say, boy, I would have done it this way. I would have done that. I didn't have to think on my feet. I got to sit in the back and ponder. And sometimes you can say to me, I have to be really careful with that kid. I've been told to ignore him. Oh, well, okay. I think I told you about the little girl and the pencil. Okay, that was really, did I tell you? Watched a student teacher. Little girl is, they're doing math. Oh, okay, she's doing, so we're doing math. She's doing, says, I can't find a pencil. She had them at the rug. They did this whole math part, and then she says, go back to your seat, get your math books out. And they get their math books out, and she says, find a pencil. We're going to work through these first 5 problems together. She puts it up on the smartboard, right? This little girl can't find a pencil. You can tell. She's cleaning out. She's going through the desk. Things are falling out. Things are falling out. She goes right on. Problem 1. What's the first thing we do? She's still looking. Okay? Still looking. Is she with her? Absolutely not. So then she puts it up and she says, now you do it. And then she's walking around and she goes, Bailey, why have you not done this? I can't find a pencil. Well, what should you do? Is that a good question? What's Bailey going to say? Find a pencil? Right? What's she going to say to that? Well, what could you do? Maybe ask somebody. So she asks the neighbor, and the teacher goes on and goes on and goes on and goes on. Now we're going to do problem 2. And she comes and she goes on. Problem 2, now do problem 2. Bailey, did you not find a pencil? Well, duh, I'm still sitting here staring at you. No, I didn't find a pencil. She didn't say that. But maybe she should have. And she said, well, did you ask somebody? Yeah, nobody has one. And she goes on around the room. Finally, Peggy gets up and goes to the teacher's desk and holds the pencil and brings it over to Bailey. Should I have done that? Probably not. But anyway, then she caught up. I helped her catch up on the first. But she's behind 5 problems before she gets a pencil. I know she's trying to teach her responsibilities. What could we do? What could she have done to facilitate? What did Bailey learn about the pencil?
My takeaway would be that the teacher's going to ignore me and not help me, but ridicule me in front of the class. That's how I would have felt.
So then she put her head on the desk and cried.
Yeah.
3rd grade. And we're all going, oh, I don't blame that student teacher at all, because this little girl's a manipulator. She can't find her book. She can't find her pencil. She doesn't want to do it, okay? She's a chronic whiner. She's trying to teach her responsibility, but what could we have done? What would be a solution?
Well, in the secrets book, it talked about sitting down with them and playing out the procedures until they get it, like do it during your lunchtime until the student understands this is the procedure, and I'll practice with you until you get it down.
I would have just said, I always have a can of sharpened pencils. Always, 100% of the time, that's a job I do or have a kid do every day of the world. I would have taken that pencil, I took that pencil to Bailey and I said, I'm going to let you borrow this pencil. As soon as math's over, you'll find your pencil and give this back to the teacher. She's there, right? She stops crying, she did it. Now, is that the student teacher's fault? No, the teacher has said, we need to teach her independence. We need to teach her to be prepared. We do, but not at the expense of her learning, right? She's now 5 problems behind, doesn't understand the concept. What good did that power struggle do the student teacher? She's got to catch her up sometime, right? Anyway, so I want you to think about being disturbed. I said to her, what would have been a different way to do that? And she said, I handled it wrong. I said, well, not necessarily, but just tell me. She said, yeah, I really did. She says, after thinking about it, I should have picked my battle, given her a pencil, dealt with the lost pencil later. And I went, perfect, right? But she could have said, well, you just don't know this little girl. She's a brat. I mean, she could have been very defensive, right? In willing to be disturbed, I want you to think about, wow, did that run perfectly? I've never had a perfect lesson, close, but never had a perfect lesson. Is somebody falling apart over there?
Oh, that was
You guys not touch those? Gosh. Okay, so what did you take away from willing to be disturbed? What's something you underlined or went, ah, that's so me? Sean?
So I did 2 that go together. So yet I believe we will succeed in changing this world only if we can think and work together in new ways. And then the second part is curiosity is what we need. We don't have to let go of what we believe, but we need to be curious about someone else's beliefs. We do need to be acknowledgeable that their way of interpreting the world might be essential to our survival.
Wow. Wow. We want the curiosity. We don't have to change our beliefs. I don't have to believe what Sean believes. I don't believe people get old. He does. I told you don't ever kid a kidder because it never goes away. So you need to be thinking about, wow. So what you're saying is this. I get where they're coming from. I don't necessarily believe in that, but someday I might have to believe in that. Did I ever think there would be riots in Utah? Ever? No. I was shocked. I mean, it was so disillusioning. I thought, wow, what do we come to? What do we come to? Okay, what else did you get out of that?
So I heard noticing what surprises and disturbs me has been a very useful way to see invisible beliefs. If I can see my beliefs and assumptions, I can decide whether I still value them. So like analyzing my own thoughts, like, oh, did I really just think that? Like, why did I think that? Like analyzing, like, was that because I grew up that way, or is it because I read something, or like deciding if that's a useful way to think or believe, and like changing it if it's not useful and stuff like that.
My 4th grade class, we had the Bulls playing the Jazz, so how long ago's that been?
I was like
25 years ago, maybe? Okay. I come back in,
1995.
lunch recess, they've had an indoor recess. They've decided the Bulls are here and the Jazz are here, and they have voted. But if you're going to vote, if you're going to be for the Bulls, you have to be not Mormon. Okay? If you're going to be for the Jazz, you have to be Mormon. Now, small community, dominant religion, right? That's what they've decided, and they've picked sides in the classroom. This little boy is sitting in the middle sobbing hysterically. I just love the Bulls and I'm Mormon. Oh my gosh. And I thought, wow, even kids have these beliefs, and then they start to judge other kids by these beliefs. He was totally distraught. He wasn't a Jazz fan, but he couldn't be because he didn't fit in either circle. How often do we do that with our own beliefs? How often do we judge a student by what they're wearing, by the language they use? By the way, when you go to Canyon School District, you'll hear language that you'll have to ask me, so, this is the word he used, what does it mean? And I'll say, you don't want to know. Do we judge those kids? I do. Don't you judge by your first impression? We all make that judgment, don't we? Wow, she could have combed her hair today. You know, something. So, willing to be disturbed, willing to think about, do I judge? Do I do that? Am I open to somebody else's idea? Okay, what else?
So mine kind of goes along with like being open to other ideas, and it was when I hear myself saying, how could anyone believe something like that, like going for me to see my own beliefs. And I feel like a lot of us like want to be listened to and understood about our own beliefs and not just dismissed. So we need to make sure that we're giving that same courtesy to like.
And sometimes our own beliefs take over, and we don't really want to know what you think because this is right. And you're bashing on me, this is right. I listened, you know, the rioting at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., I thought, these are not Americans. I mean, that was my first thought. How can they be violent? And then there was a gal from Utah that was there, and she said, never did I go to become violent. Never. I was not a part of that violence. I was protesting, but I was not, and I thought, oh, I judged that whole group as being violent, when really it was a handful that was violent. Be careful that we don't judge, that we don't say, well, how can you possibly think that? Chocolate ice cream's far better than vanilla. Why would you ever consider that? Okay, what else?
I really like this. Is no one person or perspective can give us the answers we need to the problems of today. It's all about collaboration.
Amen.
All of our minds together.
We've got to come together. Two heads are better than one, my grandma always told me that. Be willing to listen. Be willing before you get angry to stop and think. What did he really mean? What did she really mean when she asked me that or did that? Or what did that kid really mean? Most kids will act up not because they want to jump on your last nerve, because something else is going on. They were hurt by a friend. They have something at home that's chaotic. It's not about you. That was really hard for me to grasp. Their reaction to me isn't about me. It was about something outside of me. So sometimes we just need to step back and go, wow, let's wait a minute. Pass on to the hands, yeah?
I really love where it says, when so many interpretations are available, I can't understand why we would be satisfied with superficial conversations where we pretend to agree with one another. I just really love that. I think that sometimes we're not like brave enough to disagree with other people or to put our differing opinion out there. And I think that that's really cool. And I just love that it's like, just why would we be satisfied with superficial conversations? I just really love that. So.
Faculty meeting, 2 words. We're trying to do our accreditation. We have to do pieces of evidence for accreditation. We're sitting in that meeting, was that yesterday? Anyway, sitting in that meeting. Well, I just don't think that works. Well, I think that works. Well, I just don't think that works. Peggy goes, I don't care what you think. I'm just out of it. I'm just going to sit back and let the 2 of you go at it. I had an opinion, but I just backed off and thought, we're not getting anywhere. I needed to voice my opinion, but we need to voice our opinion. I get where you're coming from. This is where I'm coming from. Can we meet somewhere in between? Can we cross over? Is there anywhere that we can cross over? Conflict with kids. Is there anywhere they cross over? Usually it's somebody misread a signal or something from another kid and took it offensively when it was never intended. So I always had a problem-solving page. 2 kids get in a fight, they come in, I say, go in my office at South Elementary, you have a little office, which was nice. And I said, here's this, I want you to fill this out. Only the facts, Jack. What happened? What caused you to get in this conflict? And I said, you can either duke it out and kill each other, you can choose to not be friends, or you can solve it. Those are the 3 things you can do. Shut the door, left. I wasn't there for the conflict, right? Well, he did this, well, she did this, well, he did this, well, she did it. You know, back and forth, back and forth. Then I would say, you read yours, just the facts. You can't say, but I don't like the way she... No, you only say, she said, he said, right? And so they would read theirs, they would read theirs, and then they would go, oh, well, I thought you said, well, oh, okay. Why did you think that? Then they work out, then they had to come tell me, what did you work out? Sometimes they would say, we know we can't be friends at recess. Okay, that's okay with me, right? Because later on they are anyway. Or, I didn't understand what he was saying. I wanted to play and he wouldn't let me. And now he understands how that hurt my feelings. Oh, okay, it's solved, it's done. What else? Anything?
I really like the part where it's talking about how it's okay to be confused, and you need to like accept that. Otherwise, if you keep hiding that you know everything and stuff, or you don't let yourself be confused, you're just going to stop yourself from learning it all.
Isn't that so true?
Yes.
Technology. I'll fake it till I make it. Then you fake it till you've spent 6 hours and it still doesn't work.
Yep.
So why not admit, especially as a first-year teacher, why not admit, I've got this kid that I don't know what to do with. Can somebody help me? That's not going to make you less of a teacher. Get some ideas. I had him last year. Here's what worked for me. Oh, but he is really hard. Oh, wow, I can relate. I hope when we went out to the retreat that you went, gosh, we're all feeling a little displaced and out of the ordinary. And that's what you have to figure out. Most of the time, we're all feeling the same anxiety. And you say, no, mine's far higher. You just don't know I'm shy. You just don't know. Yeah, we do. Some of us cover it differently, but we get it. Okay, anything else on that article? Any parts that you underlined that you picked out that we haven't talked about?
I think this part's very applicable to us now, where we are. It says, and we have to be willing to move into very uncomfortable place of uncertainty.
GWA.
Yeah. I know, I'm not the only one who doesn't feel super comfortable with just going to a school and then being like, okay, next day you're teaching the whole day, have fun. Like, I'm a little uncertain about that, but I know I'm not the only one. And
you probably have 15 other people.
Yeah, and like you and Jamie said, if we don't do it now, then student teaching comes, we're gonna be like, what are we doing?
I learned this because we used to take you and you just observed in a classroom. And there were 5 of us, and we'd take you out, and we'd let you observe for a week, and we'd come back and talk about it. Then we'd go to a different school, and you'd just observe for a week, you didn't teach. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, why are they not teaching? Oh, why are they not experiencing this? And then I thought, when I was in the block, and yes, I took the block, I thought, why are you making me teach? These kids are mean. Why are you making me do this? And then I thought, because where am I going to learn how to do it? Sweden probably has one of the best school systems I've ever seen. They have 5 years. That 4th, that 5th year, you are an apprentice. You work with the teacher, you teach lessons, you critique those lessons, you work with it. Just know that they also get paid like a doctor. You know, between 80 and 100,000. Write that down. Sweden.
I actually think there's a documentary on Netflix, because I watched it.
You're thinking about moving to Sweden?
I want to actually teach out of the country.
Oh. So thinking about that, you learn by watching and then talking about it, by watching, by reflecting, by screwing up, messing something up, learning how to fix it. I promise you, when we go to GWA, you'll get a little of this. On Wednesday, you're going to go, that was the longest day of my life and the most horrible. You'll be mad, and on the ride home, you'll talk, well, I had this kid that, well, I had this kid that, well, I've got this teacher that. And then you'll go home, and you'll lay down in your bed, and you'll go, so what am I going to do tomorrow to fix it? Then you'll come up with ideas, and you'll come back, and you'll go, I'm going to try something different. Good teachers, great teachers are reflective teachers. How could that have gone better? What part did I play in that? When you go to Canyons, you're going to be so frustrated and so angry with Jamie and I on Wednesday. Why would you put us in this situation? And then I had a kindergarten teacher that finally just came back to me and she said, so, I tried all that yesterday, nothing worked. She said, not one thing I did work. Not one kid listened to one thing I did. And then I walked in on, I think it was Friday actually, I walked in on Friday and I said, so you came back? And she said, here's my epiphany. Sat up in the night, I just have to love them. Amen. 2 days, you're not going to make a huge difference in these kids' lives. You're not going to recreate the classroom. You do need to learn about yourself. You do need to maintain. You need to try some things. But we put you in these situations so that when you actually, here's your class, you can go, I get it. I get it. First of all, develop a relationship with the kids. That's number one. You don't go out to recess. You don't talk to kids. They don't like you. You need to develop a relationship with every kid. Harry Wong says, greet them at the door. How are you today, Sydney? Oh, really bad. My dog died. Oh, I'm so sorry. Wow, what can I do to help? I know where she's coming from. Instead of, why are you so ornery today? Get over it. Right? Think about things like that. Think about willing to be disturbed. Think about you're only as good as the worst teacher in your school. Think about that for just a minute. You're working in an elementary school. You are only as good as the worst teacher in your school. Why is that? Well, I'm an A teacher and she's a C teacher. Right? You're only as good. Your reputation goes with all of education. Your reputation comes from being proactive, not a naysayer. So be proactive. What does that one teacher that gets on your nerves that you think so bad, what do they do well? How could you help them be better? What could they do to help you? Do you ever think a little power goes a long way? You don't know that, but a first grader in charge of the class. They're dictators. And they will stand up there and they will point fingers and they will tell them naughty things. Be careful where you put your power. You are only as good as the worst teacher in your school. Your job is to build the reputation of the whole school, of the district, of the state, of education as a whole. We're not babysitters, are we? We're teachers, we're educators. That's kind of a philosophy that goes around. Well, how hard is it to babysit kids for 5.5 hours? Let's put it on, right? Don't knock it till you've tried it. But that's something I fight with my other colleagues from other departments. Until they come in to teach a bunch of teachers or a bunch of kids, and then all of a sudden it's, oh, hey, how do you get them to sit in the chair? Should have listened to that. Okay, anything you want to say about that? Willing to be disturbed? Are y'all willing? Be open. Maybe there's somebody in here that annoys you. Maybe there's a, wait until after Canyons. Whoa. Some of you won't even live through it. It's always interesting when you go away and sleep away from home and you come back, you know, and then the seats change and then, oh, something happened in that room, and something happened in that room, and something happened in that car. Be willing to see where they're coming from. Uh-oh. Okay? Be willing to be a little disturbed. Okay, I want you to, remember I had you do the personality test? We're just going to go around. So you know whether you were gold, or blue, or orange, the other called green. Green. You kind of know what you were. I want you to briefly tell us, who did you give the personality test to, and what did it do to your relationship? How did you analyze your relationship? Let's start. Sure, you start.
Okay. I was blue, and I gave it to my husband, and he turned out to be orange. I wasn't really surprised because of just how he is.
You would have guessed?
Yeah.
Okay.
At first I couldn't remember what the colors were, so I gave it to him first, and I was looking at him as he was doing the test. It's like, oh, he's probably going to be orange. And then he was. But I wasn't really surprised because he's very daring, and he likes to say he's fine.
How is that a challenge in your relationship?
He definitely tries to push me out of my comfort zone when I don't want to be pushed out of my comfort zone. And then I end up having fun and secretly don't tell him.
Right, because you don't want him to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
How about parenting? Is that possible?
We do have different parenting styles, but it helps us a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Because when you've had enough,
Yep. Like last night.
go have fun, and you go fun, just go.
Yeah,
Just
like
go.
last night, our daughter, we figured out, he kind of gave me an aha moment. We found out she has anxiety. She's only 2, but she's already showing signs of anxiety because she gets super anxious. We're trying to sell our house, so we were touring some houses, and all she was saying on the ride to the next place was home, home. All she wanted to do was go to our house, not anybody else's house, just our house. And then once we got there, she was fine. But then once we were getting back in the car, she was freaking out, and my husband was saying, I did the same thing when I was little. At that age, I would freak out when my mom went to the grocery store. I'd have a complete meltdown, and nothing could calm me down until she was sitting next to me, like scratching my back.
Separation anxiety.
And we found out that she has that, and the only way to get her to sleep last night was having him, not me. She didn't want mom, she wanted him. She was done with mom. But she wanted him to scratch her back the same way that he had his mom do when he was the kid. And I was like totally done. I was just like, just go to bed. I'm done.
Whatever.
And he's like, okay, but she has anxiety, and that's
And very much a
calm her down.
2-year-old has, most 2-year-olds have anxiety, especially leaving mom. But leaving familiar, 2-year-olds have that anxiety. Do 5-year-olds, kindergartners?
Oh yeah.
I have 3 5-6-year-old grandchildren, and I have one has to have everything the same every day. He can't handle the tweaking. The other 2 are more mature, I would say. He has anxiety that, well, some of the kids go down the hall, and what if I have to go down the hall, and what if I get lost, and then tomorrow I won't be able to find my way back, and you won't be able to find it. And I'm going, Skylar,
Oh, wow.
it's okay. Breathe, dude. Breathe. His teacher has zeroed in on that and said, Skylar, look, this is what we're doing. You don't ever have to go down the hall. Okay, he's fine, but we have to do that. Now, Tegan would go down the hall uninvited. You know, he said, I'm going with those kids. They're having more fun. No, you need to say, why? 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 You need to think about the kids you teach. Hey, where are their anxieties coming from? Had a little boy at science camp that had a fear of lettuce. I kid you not. Lettuce. We put out the hoagie sandwiches, lettuce, tomatoes, onions, pickles. Put those out. Kid walks up to the front of the line, screams, throws his plate, runs out, gets under the picnic table at the cabin, is crying hysterically. Did you see a bug? Are you sick to your stomach? Are you sad? What's going on? No, I mean really, what's going on? Lettuce. So I say to his parents, oh, I tell you, it's a phobia of lettuce. Weird? Did I judge him? Did we all make fun? Well, I have a fear of onions. Well, I have a fear of tomatoes. I have no fear of food. But so think about your kids. Is it real to them? That's all that matters. Sometimes they'll use it as a ploy. You've got to decide what to do differently. Sydney, tell us about your personality person.
So I tested my mom and my dad. They're both super gold, so.
Whoa.
I actually don't think my dad's always been gold. He probably was more of an orange and blue when he was younger, and then my mom turned him into a gold.
Sometimes gold has that influence because things run smoothly.
He wasn't,
with
yeah,
the
he
gold.
wasn't like that at all. But now he's just as crazy as my mom.
So what were you? What color were you?
I'm gold too.
So you're all gold?
Yeah.
So 2 golds beget a gold.
All 3 of us get along really well. And then he was a blue. Me and my dad have the same exact like lineup.
Oh, cool.
So we get along really well.
Do you get along better with your dad than your mom?
Yeah.
So there's
My dad's pretty blue too, so he's like super nice and.
So there's some conflict maybe sometimes with your mom?
Yeah, my mom's not blue at all. Blue's like her last one.
Jamie and I have that little conflict. She wants to say to me, will you just sit down and shut up? Oh, sure. For a minute, you know, because she wants things orderly and I'm going, oh, let's do this and let's go here and I know what we can do.
Yep.
And then she'll say to me, oh, that'd be really fun. Let's do that. How would you plan that? I said, let's just do it. So you feed into each other. It turns out okay. Just be willing to be disturbed. Because they're not the very same, it's okay. What can you do to work with them? Matt?
So I tested my husband. I really couldn't pinpoint where I thought he'd be because he's kind of a lot.
All over the place?
But he tested really, really high on gold, which isn't surprising, but surprised me a little bit. But yeah, he's very routine oriented, and I am not.
So what color were you?
I'm really blue.
Okay, so where's the conflict?
Definitely, like, I'm super disorganized, and so he, like, really needs things the same, and, like, I don't have that, but he's very conscious of not yelling or, like, getting
Does he
really
hurt your
angry.
feelings sometimes because he redoes things for you?
I let him do it. It's fine, but, like, also, we can't watch, like, any of the Pixar shorts on Disney Plus without me crying about it. So, like, sometimes he just, like, stop. But, yeah.
But you've kind of worked it out, right?
Yeah, no, we get along really well. Like, it's a good.
And so then you learn to compliment. I'll let him organize the pantry.
Oh, yeah.
Go for it. I'll let him clean the car. I'm okay as long as he hangs that really good scented air freshener in it. You know, you can make that work. That's awesome. Sarah?
Little side comment. I was actually scared of ranch dressing when I was little, so I feel that.
So you get the lettuce.
I do. I get it. I wouldn't even go in the lunchroom when I was little because it was smell like ranch. Anyways.
I understand. Cover the ranch. Hurry.
No. Okay. So I interviewed both my boyfriend and my friend, and they both ended up being the same. They were both orange. I'm also orange.
Ooh.
And I found that with my friend, it works really well because we're very similar. We can go out and do fun stuff. But with my boyfriend, we butt heads so much because of it. It'll be like the dumbest little things, and we just have to fight over it because we both want to be right and stuff. So
Oranges are definitely, this is so much more fun than what you're thinking about doing. I don't even know why you're thinking that.
yes, yep.
Very impulsive. So are you going to stick with him?
Yeah.
Just kidding. You'll work it out. What was your second color?
Blue.
Okay, so that makes you love him anyway. They'll like you. Okay, we won't go there. Amanda.
So I interviewed my husband. I was pretty even across the board, but his was pretty awesome. He's very orange, but if you look, he's all 4s, all 1s, almost all 2s, and almost all 3s.
So he's definite colors.
Yeah.
So how has that
So we
affected
had
your
a
relationship?
really big argument over it.
Oh,
He's
no.
like, it's not real, and I'm different things in every situation that's different. It's like, I can understand that. So we've been together for 20 years, but he used to drive me insane. I want to know where we're going. I want to know how long we're going to be there, what we're doing. I want
What's the
everything
plan?
planned out. And he would drive and he'd say, do you want me to go left or right?
And he
would
doesn't
sit
see that
there.
in himself, right?
No,
He doesn't see that at all.
do you want me to go left or right? Let's go left today and he's a car guy, so let's go look for old cars. So we drive in the country. Do you want to go left or right? And we know where we're at.
Okay.
So
And
it
that's
took me a
hard.
long time to be comfortable
Yeah,
with it, but
yeah. But did you find that he also brought you out of your shell and that it was okay to go left and then right?
yes, now I have a little guy that's even worse than I am. He has to be structured. Things just have to be a certain way or it's going to be chaos. So it's really funny with my husband because he's like, why is he like this? I'm like, remember how I was. It's going to take him time. It took me 20 years to be comfortable with
To adjust and to
Yeah.
live together. And you take on other colors with who you live with, kind of. And
Very
you'll
much
learn.
so.
You'll learn. Different ages can justify and can developmentally decide, oh, I get it. I'm okay with it. That's awesome. Sam?
So I gave it to my little sister that's 11.
Wow.
And so she got orange and I'm also orange and we're also both Leos. So that's interesting sometimes.
Sometimes it is,
Yeah.
too.
And but what I noticed is that I'm more like just do it, risk taker, thrives on competition for sure. And she's more like the quick-witted, master negotiator, creative, inventive. She'll I don't know how she comes up with these comebacks that she comes up with. And everything's a negotiation. And she used to when she was little, if I was like, if you do this, we can go get an ice cream or something. She'd come up with a contract. And I'm like, we're not doing a contract about this right now.
Or, okay, we can go get ice cream, but can I have chocolate on the outside
Yeah.
with sprinkles on the top? Or can I, really? I just offered an ice cream cone, not the world.
So we're very similar, but also different. I'm less of the negotiator, and yeah. But
Cool. Because maybe you've learned, maybe maturity and life experiences has taught you, I'm not going to fight that because I'm not going to win.
yeah.
Oranges very often will just say, I'm done. Go ahead, I'll do whatever because I'm not going to win, so I just won't play.
And she is so stubborn. It is insane. Literally, I got the very first genuine apology of her whole life out of her 2 days ago.
Whoa!
And I was like, oh, it's fine, girl. But
That's awesome.
it's weird. She just is so stubborn.
Yeah, oranges are. Orange.
So I'm very orange.
I can relate.
Yeah. But I'm also a gold, which means I have to have everything perfect and stuff.
So you've got huge conflict going on.
Inside. Anyways. But that's my personality style. I'm very impulsive and I love projects. Projects that are my jam. And I interviewed my parents and I spent 20 minutes trying to explain to this how to fill it out to my dad. He was this is so stupid. He's very green, I found out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I literally was I was ready to kill him.
This is not logical. Why would I mark a bunch of words?
Just do it! I was so mad. I was just it's not that hard. And then so I found out that my personality and his personality do not clash well. Which makes sense because he's always irritated with my projects and stuff. And he's like, can you just clean this up or whatever? I'm like,
Yep.
no. But then when I'm done, it's perfect, right? So
Hey.
he's like, oh, okay, that was good. I'm like, you didn't have to argue with me about it. But anyways.
So what's your mom?
She is also very bold, but she has the impulsive side. So we're just a bad combination for my
Hey,
dad.
it works. It works. I spend my whole time doing projects, science projects, and my husband's saying, why are you doing that way? My project, I'll do it how I want. Well, it'd work better if you did. I'm going, holy cow. The squeeze bottle with the hooky thing in it. Do you want me to just do that for you? No. I will make it work. And I've been married for 40 years, so hey,
Okay.
it'll work. Astrid.
So I'm gold. My two highs was gold and blue, and so I had my grandma do it, and she was very much the same with okay, I need to explain exactly how to do this thing. I had to read it to her, And she's like, oh, so I just go down? I was like, go across. So I had to be on the phone with her as she took it and read it to her. But we're all within 1 point of each other. Like my gold is 19 and hers is 20. My blue is 13, hers is 14.
Wow.
My green is 11, hers is 10. My orange is 7, hers is 6. So we're very similar. Which at times, it's like she's like my best friend. So like I can tell her anything. But then at the same time, like there's days like when we fight, like it's like we don't talk for like days.
You hold a grudge.
Yeah, we're very good at that.
That's awesome though, because you're probably really close with her. If you looked at overall, you're very close.
She's definitely my best friend, my whole life.
And you think the same, and you can see things the same, so that creates this natural bond. That's cool. Brooklyn.
I'm very gold. I had my fiance take this. He is very orange.
Uh-oh.
We're looking at it after. And
How's the wedding plans
Oh,
going?
it's great. We just let our moms do it, and we're like,
okay.
you guys take that because it's the same work. So we looked at every box, and we were almost exactly opposite on every box.
Whoa.
And I was what are we doing? Like, is this gonna?
I guess we can't get married.
Oh,
Sorry.
Are we okay? But it works out so well because we really are just exactly opposite, and so it works in a way. I don't know how it works, but it works
Usually
so well.
does.
Yeah,
Usually does.
yeah, it's great.
That's awesome though.
Yeah.
And he was okay with it?
Yeah.
Wedding's still on?
Yeah, we
Okay.
did.
How to do your mom and your mom-in-law and say, oh, now I understand.
Yeah, it would be very interesting to do that.
I mean, it would just be interesting to see who has ideas.
Mhm.
Because I kind of said to my mom, I don't care as long as there's cake, just
Yeah.
fun. That's kind of where I came from. Sierra, what did you do?
So I did my brother, and we are literally the polar opposites.
Oh, wow.
So we fight all the time. I got gold and blue, and my lower scores were orange and green, and his highest scores were orange and green, and his lowest scores were gold and blue. And it's very frustrating
Very.
because we fight all the time. He is like, everything I do, he knows everything.
Uh-huh.
And everything I do or say is wrong. Last night, I was cutting an onion, and I apparently was cutting it the wrong way. And it was so frustrating. I always just sit back and I'm like, okay, fine, you do it. You do it, because I'm just very angry. But yeah, and when I was reading him the orange attributes, and of course when it said charming, he just had this smirk on his face, which made me so angry.
You want to say you might be charming, but you don't get anything done.
Yeah, because everyone in our family, they're always like, oh, Shawn Michael's so handsome. And I'm like,
Stop.
so of course when I said charming, he's like, I know. Oh, it's so frustrating. But
So
yeah,
is he older or younger?
he's younger. He's 2 years younger than me.
So not a lot.
Not a
younger.
lot, yeah.
So you
we're-
probably had conflict your whole life.
Oh yeah. But we did everything together our whole life.
First of
so-
all, male-female is some conflict. It just naturally comes. But then to be opposite personalities.
Yeah.
But then you're probably each other's best friends
Yeah.
because he compensates for you and you compensate for him.
Yep.
You backed him up.
Yep.
You got him out of trouble. Those kinds of things. But he made you have fun and risk a little bit.
Yep.
That's awesome. Cool. Haley.
So I did my husband's a twin, so I did him and his twin brother.
Ooh.
And he got orange and green, or his brother definitely got gold.
Really?
And green, and it's so funny because they're total opposites. Like his brother's so
And I have met these guys and they are opposite.
yeah, they're so structured, and then he's just kind of like, I'll do whatever. So
Outgoing and not so outgoing. Just very different. But twins would be fascinating. I had their aunt, I guess, Courtney, in my fourth grade class when the twins were born. That was traumatic for her. Because they lived with them.
yeah.
That's so interesting. So what about you? How does it compare with you?
So I'm blue and green, I think were my highest, but I definitely have a higher gold score. So I kind of do the organizing for both of us and get down my comfort zone for both of us.
And is that frustrating to you sometimes? Do you just want to look at the sink and go, really?
Yeah, a little bit.
Really?
I'll look over at his desk and it's just piled in my little thing. I'm like, how do you do anything?
I know that Jamie sometimes walks in and goes, how do you find it? I know where it is. And within 2 minutes I can find it, but there is no rhyme or reason how I file it. It's just there. Interesting. Judith.
I'm very gold. I gave the test to my daughter and her results came back gold, and I started reading her the attributes and she started denying it. And I was giggling because I knew she is not gold. And so we had to go over it, and it's like, why did you put this answer then if these are not more? And so when we got done with it, she actually is very orange and blue. Because she's like, I am not gold. You're reading those things, those are you, that is you, that is, oh, she was so upset over it.
Well,
We
and
just
sometimes as oranges, we want to try to conform with everybody else because we're kind of out there and we really don't listen to directions. So we really want to justify why we didn't listen to directions, so we try to conform, we try to outguess, and it always backfires.
It was just so funny. I just laughed because when her score tallied up gold, I'm like, you are so not gold. Room is a mess. Just, yeah, I'm gonna go. What are you doing today? Well, I'm just gonna go do this. Don't you have a job you're supposed to? Yeah, I'll just call and do it later. I'm like, you are not gold.
Yep, we had to learn. That's so funny. It's awesome. Abby.
Okay, well, my husband is very, very green. Like, he will tell me what the scientific makeup of everything.
Yep.
And so I gave it to him, and I expected him to be green, but he got gold. But then when I asked about his answers, it was because he like analyzed the whole test and gave certain words like more weight than other words. And so he like kind of screwed up his answers that way because he analyzed.
Because he had to analyze the whole thing.
Yes.
That's what my husband did. Why did they choose these exact words?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just put a mark by it. Well, I know, but this word really doesn't mean that. It should go, I'm a just mark a stupid test.
Yeah.
He analyzed the entire, every word. Well, how would you interpret this word? I don't interpret anything. Anyway, so how do you get along? What were you?
Well, I'm a gold. And his says he's a gold, but he's not.
He's green, yeah.
I am the gold for him. And so, I mean, I don't know.
It works out okay?
Yeah.
I can say to my husband, I need help cleaning the kitchen, because boy, I can clean the kitchen fast. He gets to the toaster and there's crumbs in there. Oh, I gotta take this apart and get all the, I just wanted the kitchen clean. 2 hours later, all the screws are out of the toaster. We have, I have the cleanest toaster in town. Did you know that there's this little lever inside that does? No, it works. I don't need to know. I'm okay with it. But that's him. So I have a clean toaster. He didn't help with one other thing in the kitchen, but I have a really clean toaster. For whatever reason, you need a clean toaster. Sometimes that's hard. Brittany.
Okay, so my highest was blue. I think I'm very blue. My second was gold. And then, so I did my fiance, and he got green and orange, and his highest was green. Green was my lowest, and his lowest is blue. So it's hilarious.
Does he hurt your feelings sometimes?
A lot.
Well, but he doesn't even get that you're mad. He's going, over what?
And then, like, I tell him, I'm having these problems, and he, like, gives me solutions, and I don't want them.
I want to get your solutions, expects you to act on them and get over it. Right?
Yeah.
It'll work out. I promise it'll work out. That's
No, I love him, and it works out. Like, I have enough motion for, like, everyone in the world. It's ridiculous. And then his orange, like, helps me be more adventurous.
And daring, right?
Yeah, and then my blue helps him more centered.
Well, and you can say to them, you can say to a green, that really hurt my feelings. I'm so sorry. I mean, they are very empathetic.
He just doesn't realize.
But he didn't realize he said that. This tastes interesting. Oh, what do you mean interesting? I want it to be good.
He could eat a whole plate, and I'm like, you didn't like it?
And he goes, I did something interesting. It can go either way. I said, well, you really say this is not like your mom's. I said, I'll never measure up.
We might have that conversation, I don't know.
Okay, I didn't. Okay, Rebecca.
So I'm gold, and I did my roommate, and we almost had the exact same scores, which was interesting, which I found out that's probably why we get along so well. But it does create conflict with our other roommate, who probably is not a gold. I didn't give her the test, but it makes sense that we get along so well, and she just kind of is a third wheel in our relationship.
And you're kind of frustrated with the things she does. It's her turn for the kitchen, and she did 2 pans but left 3, and you're going, now what? I don't understand. Why didn't you see this? Yeah, for sure. Sean.
Okay, so I got orange, but I am very gold. Like growing up as a kid, I had to wake up at like 7:23 because 7:20 was too early and 7:25 was too late. Like sort my clothes by colors. I'm like OCD, so I have made myself change. Like you have to change those ways. You can't.
Because you can't control everybody else.
Exactly. So that's where my orange comes in, and I still have a lot of gold in me, but I've tried to change myself to not let things bug me, and so.
Or you just go back and redo it whenever it's gone.
True. So I did my mom, and I knew she was going to be. I thought she was going to be blue and gold, but she was gold and green.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Most
So,
women are not green, just so you know.
but she's very stubborn. It's only her way. Everything's planned, and like the military, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. Like that's her, like strictly her. So.
My husband comes from a family of 9 children, and his dad was very gold. But his mom had to get all 9 kids ready. He would sit out in the car and honk while she got 9 kids out the door. Oh, I marry in and goes, you're not, no, we don't see eye to eye here, but we were best friends. I mean, I really learned, but oh my gosh, he was so, are you gonna clean up this mess? What? You have to take these with a grain of salt. Other influences, mom and dad. Mom, no dad. Dad, no mom. How did you grow up? Mean siblings, nice siblings, siblings that are a lot older, siblings that are a lot younger, more siblings, only child. You know, you can do birth order. So the oldest goes towards the father. They react most like the father. The second one goes towards the mother. The third one's confused. So they don't go to either one. I mean, you can look at birth order. It's not just personality type, but there is a personality type. We put a color to it. There's not a color. You know, you've heard of type A personalities that like things. That would be gold. Type A likes things in order. But if you're working in a school and you have all these kids that are different personalities, how are they going to react? How are you going to react to them? If you're a gold, you can't stand a kid's messy desk. You know, I'm sure that this student teacher is gold, and she wanted this little girl. She's thinking, holy cow, I didn't know where to start looking for your pencil, because it was a mess. I just moved stuff to the side, threw a bunch of stuff in the garbage, and said, here's your pencil, right? So you need to think about it. What about your principal? If your principal's orange and all over the place, you can see that Tony's kind of orange. Sometimes we get nothing done in faculty meeting because we're telling jokes the whole time. That really drives the gold people crazy. I don't have an hour to waste with you. You've got to learn to be all colors, and you've got to learn to appreciate all colors, all personalities. You've got to say, wow, I am so glad that I have a gold in my life. I am so glad that I can be gold once in a while when my homework's due. I might stay up the night before and do it, but I'm a perfectionist and I want it done perfectly. However, sometimes we run out of time because we waited too long. So you've got to adjust and make that happen. Any comments about this? What do you think? Is it real? Does it work?
You should think about it.
It really does make you think about personality, does it not? About your own kids, especially if you're a parent. About the kids in your class. Right now, I bet you could say, boy, in my block class, I have 3 oranges and 2 blues and 1 green. And most of them will be orange and blue. You will have a few golds, but usually that's the influence of a parent who has kind of made them be gold. Okay, here's your 3 assignments, and they're in order, and they're in alphabetical. Okay.
I think a lot of this goes with the willing to be disturbed article, because when I was a kid, I'm still an adult, but I'm like really scattered. And so in 1st grade, my desk was a disaster. There were papers overflowing, and my teacher yelled at me in front of the class and threw everything away. And that just crushed me as a little kid, because I didn't know how to organize.
And you can still remember that feeling,
and I didn't know I was doing anything wrong. And so I think we have to be like, take a breath. Like, it might really bother you when you see a kid's desk like that, but you just gotta be like, let's see how to use the folder, and let's put it in.
Let's organize our desks. I always gave them a buddy, a gold buddy, a friend. Now you're sitting by her, you're gonna help her. She needs to put this like yours, just show her what to do. That's watching the student teacher this morning, and this little girl leaned over and said, put it in your folder. Here, let me show you how to put it in your folder. She helped him, and he let her because he didn't want to do it. Look at your kids, find the plus. A messy kid might be so creative. However, you might need to organize them too, or you will never get a piece of homework because they don't have any idea where it might be. So you're going to have to say, no, you need to be a little gold, and you need to make sure this gets to the homework box, or this is turned in. You need to teach procedures. Sam, did you have a...
Yeah, one thing that's really interesting to me is I think because I'm orange, but I always like the teachers that were entertaining were my favorite teachers, are like really like outwardly passionate about what they're teaching. But my little sister Malia, she has anxiety, and those teachers just stress her out. And so the teachers that I would think are so boring are her favorite teachers.
Oh, yeah.
And the teachers that just give her the most anxiety, I'm like, yeah, I'm in this. And I just think that's so interesting. Because I'm orange, that's just what...
You just assume that's what everybody would
Yeah,
like.
but that's not true.
And many of you are different. You know, you wish we would explain it step by step. Some say, just give it to me and let me do it. Others of you are going, why are we doing it? You know, we understand that.
Yeah, I was doing a seating chart for my kindergarten class, and I was talking to my roommate who we were talking about our personalities and how sometimes, like you were saying, you put a gold student with the orange student. And as a kid who was like always gold and always organized, whenever I was put in the back with the orange students, I almost felt like it was a punishment. Like, oh, you have to babysit them. How do you avoid that in the classroom?
And you've got to be so careful. My oldest son, really bright. We don't know where the gene pool came from, alien something, really bright. And so his teacher would say, go around and help everybody. Jeremy got 100, he'll be around to help you. He got crucified for that, crucified. And that's all he could do. He could never sit and read a book, he could never sit and draw a picture. He always had to be helping the lower kids. And it really affected him to the point when he's in high school, he missed problems so he wouldn't be pegged the smart kid. I mean, he literally said, I know the answer, but I'm gonna miss that. I didn't catch on to that until I went, you know this answer? And he goes, well, I do. In fact, Steve Stevenson came to me and said, he knows every answer that I even throw out there, and yet he misses. He gets 86% because he didn't want to do that. You have to be very careful. They're not always leaders. They're not always social people. And so you have to be very careful to say, would you be willing to help her? And not do it all the time. Find a different friend for a different thing. So don't always put a gold with a green or a gold with an orange to organize them. That's not their responsibility, that's your responsibility as the teacher. However, you can ask for volunteers. Who would like to help Brittany organize her folder? And then there will always be a blue that will go, oh, I want to, you know, or somebody, but don't always use, well, you've got yours organized, so go help. Let them be who they are. Don't try to make them into something else, for sure.
I had a kid in Joan's class that I was with, and she read at about a kindergarten level. She was in 4th grade, and did math at about a 1st grade level. Wasn't super, had a really bad learning disability, but her desk was always perfectly clean, perfect. And she sat next to a girl who her desk was like overflowed with stuff around her. But this girl was very good at math, very good at reading. And they kind of worked with each other, and they were like, oh, I'll help you clean your desk if you help me with this math. And it worked perfectly. So.
And that's a match made, and they probably became fast friends. I always seek a gold bound if I have to do a project. Oh, I'll work with Jamie because she's gold. Wow, yeah, because we'll get her done, and it'll be perfect and hand it in. You choose that, and you choose to be a certain color at a certain time when you have to be. So willing to be disturbed, be willing to change colors. Be willing to see where another person's coming from. Be willing to see if they're OCD or they're too vivacious or they're obnoxious or whatever you want to call it. Be willing to see where they're coming from. Usually the loudest person in the room has something to kind of cover, you know, so they cover it with humor or whatever. Be aware of that. Don't take it personally, but be aware of that. Find ways to give each student in your class a little power, is what I would say. You know, you're really good at organizing. Will you organize the lunch cards in alphabetical order? Will you organize this paint shelf? Will you let them do that? Find their strength. But also challenge them to move a little bit, right? Challenge them to be more gold. Challenge them to be more orange. Challenge them to be more green. Mathematics is a very green task. We need to all be a little green when we're doing math. So think about that. Anything else? Okay, stand up, take a break, and then talk. Let's
They would move it like you're saying, and I'm like, someone turn it.
Sorry, I just like rubbed it. So then he came back like hours later.
I was just laughing because of
Squares, like, in both directions.
Let's bring it back together.
If they weren't straight,
I have handed you out a little activity. So you have one or two little pieces of paper on your desk. You guys right here only have one. Little piece of paper. Everybody else should have two. From Abby over, you should have two little pieces of paper. You guys have one. This is a following directions activity. Okay, are we there yet?
All right.
Everybody got their little pieces of paper? This is kind of like the math game. I have 7. Who has 8 more? If you have the one with the star on it, you're going to start. However, this is kind of nonverbal, so you're going to have to pay attention to what the person does. Does that make sense? Did you not get one?
Well, no, I did. They kind of go together. So is that okay?
Yeah. Well, or switch with her.
Okay.
Switch one out.
Okay.
It's going to make you.
Like, actually, I don't want to do that way.
Okay. Who has my star?
Oh.
Here. Go.
Please put that away.
Good job.
Oh.
Poor Mads.
Okay, it's just a game. Mary had all little lamb.
Tables are not for naps.
The end.
You can come back.
You did.
I definitely had another.
Yeah, me too. I had another one too.
Oh, what was yours?
So when she comes back, woohoo! But I'm standing on my chair.
Who else?
I was supposed to stand up and turn 3 times when someone turned on the lights.
Okay, I got messed up. I think I ruined the game. Because I couldn't see her, I did. I thought it was pretty.
Okay.
Again. Oh.
You want to do it one more time?
Yeah. Do it right. Go.
Yeah, let's
What?
do it.
Someone 2, 3.
Wait, did I? Okay, ready, go.
just walked around the room one time.
And somebody said, good job. Who's supposed to erase the smiley face?
Me. Oh, not me.
Yeah. I think maybe I missed it. Maybe I thought the good job I did do that. That's probably.
You can erase them both.
That's not right. Is that right?
They'll come.
There you go.
So when someone walks into the hallway, sit on the stool, classroom, says it's a stool, class. Did somebody tell her to shush?
You're supposed to open each other's doors.
Put that away. It's okay, it's just a game. Mary had a
Tables are not for naps.
The end.
So kind of a fun, did we get everybody that time? Other than the red marker? That was all of them, right?
Yeah.
So kind of a fun thing to do. You could write anything, depending on how many kids are in your class, but just say, kids love this. So that's just kind of a break.
I love it.
But you could also have them write their own. Would that not be fun? And then do that. So that's just kind of an activity, like you will come up with an activity. Some of you today will come up with an activity. Please put your activity pieces in here, your little slip of paper, and then I will use it next time. Okay, hot tip number 1, planning. What did you learn about planning? Chapter 1. Tell me what your hot tip is. Yep. Plan in 5-minute increments. That was kind of a surprise to me when I got this book and read this chapter. Why would you plan in 5-minute increments?
That way, like at the end of the day or before breaks or anything, you're not wasting any time.
And you don't say, we can't go to recess because we've got to get through this.
Right.
5 minutes is 5 minutes. Plus, you need to switch gears fairly often. You do, I do, sort of thing, right? So that kids don't get bored. As I watched in a first grade classroom, started at the rug, went to the desk, came back to the rug, walked around the room, all in a reading lesson. Within 20 minutes, they did those 3 things, which broke up the monotony of what she was doing, right? Okay, what else did you learn?
Going along with those 5 minutes, I thought it was very important that they said that you shouldn't have them as time fillers or have them eat up time or make those 5 minutes over. I just think that that's more important.
I do too. Make them count.
Yeah.
Teach, really have their attention. Most kids you will have right here for at least 5 minutes, right? If you go on to 10 and 15, you start to lose.
I love the 60-40 rule because I feel like it should be students doing at least more than half.
Students are the learners, right? And students can teach each other better than you can teach them, believe it or not. So the 60-40 rule, how many times do you stand in front of a classroom and nobody participates but the teacher? It's not real effective. Yes, on that.
That was mine.
Okay, 60-40.
The great lesson versus the great plan. You want this wonderful thing to happen. Did you plan? And I think Jamie had the sign up yesterday. If you plan Yeah.
Failed
If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
fail.
Yeah,
And 5-minute increments, think about it. Activity, okay, it's all the same reading lesson. I'm gonna go the rugs. Now I'm gonna have them put in their seats with a worksheet. Now she had them find a word under this. She put Post-it notes under their chair with a word with the G sound. She hid it under the chair. They had no idea it was under there. So she did the rug, then they talked about the G sound, they did all that, and then up on the board she had the big G and the Ja and the Ga, and they had, which one does your word go under? They pulled it out from under their chair, they had to find it, they walked up to it. I mean, think about the activity. Then they had to turn to a neighbor and tell them what sound their word made. If they didn't know, the neighbor told them, your word is jump, you know, things like that. Wow, it had me going, right? If you do too many, they're confused. But you've got to switch gears. Okay, what else?
I really like to be flexible. I feel like it's kind of like the golden age. You like plan. And like you kind of plan for like everything, but then you have to like be flexible. Like you don't know, like maybe there's an impromptu fire alarm or
Right.
something like that. Like,
Or a kid says, what about that bee on the window? Here's
someone cute.
Or someone, here's a teaching time, and all of a sudden you're going, no, we got to get through this. No, be flexible so that you can say, that's really interesting, we'll talk about it later, or that's really interesting, what does it have to do with, or can we wait, can we not wait? Be flexible. I like that. Son of the hand.
I like the being proactive instead of like kind of tricking your students into behaving by being like, I know you can handle this, you're so mature and smart, and they're like, yes, I want to do this.
Yep, I know that I have the best first graders in the building, probably in the district, probably in the state, so I know you can do this. Turn the whining into a positive. Okay, that's a good one. What else? Anybody?
I like that it says there's always tomorrow.
There is always tomorrow. Everything's not going to go perfect. I would much rather know that you stepped outside the box and did something and it didn't work than you never step outside the box. Had a second grade, a student teacher doing a lesson in second grade, and she wanted them to take their pulse. Most adults can't take their pulse, but I'm sitting there going, this could be interesting. She said, take your pulse and find it. One's going, 516. Another's going, 3. Does that mean I'm dead? You got to be careful that they can do it. So she said, oh, that's my bad. That's Mrs. Such and Such's bad. Let's not do that. But let's see if you can feel it. See if you can find it. See if you can find it in your friend. Okay, now stand up. We're going to do 15 jumping jacks. Now can you, oh yeah, I feel it much stronger. Instead of counting, can you feel it? And then she went on to her lesson. She improvised, right? She said, oh, my bad. That's really hard for anybody to do, even the nurse. So then she fixed it. Okay, anything else from chapter 1? Those are all your hot tips. Nobody had a different one?
I like how to make clear objectives because a lot of times you can have a really good lesson, but there's no point to it and it's not going anywhere. So I really liked that part.
And your curriculum should be driven by your objective. We all want to do cutesy. We all want to do something really, really fun, but if it doesn't help you meet your objective, why are you doing it? Make sure your objective is observable and measurable. Can you watch the kids learn? Can you see what they learn? Right? Can you measure how much they learn? If your objective doesn't do those two things, it's not a good objective for your lesson. So make sure you do that.
I think this goes along with being flexible, but my favorite quote in it was that the most effective teachers tend to be the happiest because they don't worry about the little details all the time.
And they're not paranoid.
They're not paranoid.
Yep, they can go with the flow, but they have a plan too. I've seen teachers try to fly by the seat of their pants. Oh, I got this, I got this, I got this. You can be too rigid and you can be too lax. You've got to find somewhere in the middle that's a happy medium. Anything else?
I like modeling, and last week I wouldn't have thought twice about it, but after the crane activity, it's a big deal. So
For sure.
it's important.
You need to model and you need to tell students your expectations. I need 3 questions. It means I need 3 questions. Don't just say write some questions or write 4 words or just write some words. You're going to get 1 and you're going to get 8. Unless it doesn't matter, then you're okay to do that. But be careful not to be too vague and model what you want. Anything else?
Because it goes along with what Astor said, but focus on what you can control and don't bemoan what you can't.
Pick your battles. Give the kid a pencil.
I think I go hand in hand with plan in 5 minutes, but over plan.
Mhm.
You might think like, oh, it'll only take 30 minutes, but it takes 20, and like you don't have anything else to go with.
Always overplan. Overplan, overplan. I would overplan at least 3 5-minute segments. Something that you can do, oh wow, they caught on to this so fast, I need to skip these 2. Have something. Don't just say, read a book. That's what we do all the time in schools. If you're done, just read a book. You need to have a list on the board. What do you do when you're finished with your assignment? You can do vocabulary. You can play a vocabulary game. You can have 4 things because this kid's always going, done that, done that, done that. Have at least 4 things they can do. They can be the same 4 things each day, mixed up a little with the content, but have something that they know what they can do when they finish. Also have a way to check that they really did finish, not just faked it, right? Okay, anything else?
I really liked at the beginning of the chapter when it talks about like having a hook to draw the kids into the lesson. I just love the wording that was used about how they were talking about thank you notes and how we want, like the purpose of this right now is to get those kids to want to learn how to write a thank you note. And obviously that's what hooks are for, but I just really love that wording. Like I never really thought about it as like getting them to want to learn what you're about to teach them.
You just thought it was fluff, right?
Kind of. I mean, not really, but that just was like super clear to me for some reason.
So I saved these for this very reason. I loaned a bunch of stuff to Tori Rice out at Three Peaks. She had her kids write for science thank you notes. Dear Peggy, they're all in the same format, so I know she taught thank you note writing. Thank you for the stuff. I really loved it. It was so fun to look at. Thank you so much. Science is fun. Are these not fun to read? Dear Peggy, thank you for letting us use your cool science stuff. My favorite thing was making this something. Have a wonderful day. Dear Peggy, now look at this writing. Compared, this kid's going to be low, right? Really low. Compared to this. Very different. Assessment tool, right? Dear Peggy, how do the wind travel, do lights through paper? From David. Have a something day. Anyway, I have all of these. Isn't that fun? This one's from the teacher. Did she do a nice job? Yes. Okay, good. So that's kind of fun, having them think about that. How do you teach that? That gave them meaning. I loaned them some stuff. They were grateful. I linked that to real life. They linked that to real life. Did they not? It was much more meaningful than saying, just write a thank you note. Okay, what else? Anything in chapter 1? Did we kill it? I had that one where the teacher is doing vocabulary. Oh, she's doing vocabulary words and she said, select 20 words, give me the definition. Anyway, she's having them write the definition, 3 different things, 20 words. They're saying, why do you need to do all 20? I'm saying, why not choose 5? Choose your 5 favorite words. Act them out to your neighbor. Act them out in front of the class. This little science idea that I got, watched a teacher teach science a couple of weeks ago. She did a vocabulary, pokes a hole in it, 3x5 card. Has them fold it, enforce. She has them write, what are we talking about? States of matter. What are 3 key ideas? Liquid, solid, gas. And then they drew a little picture. What's the takeaway? Everything in the world is made of matter. What's your picture that describes what matter is? Got a stove and a pot with steam coming out and ice being put in. Okay, then they put this on a ring. So they have states of matter. They know they can go back and find that. They have their own words in their own definition. So she did much more fun than write the definition for the word matter. Right? This is in their own words. So just something to change it up. Okay, so chapter 1, planning. Here's a lesson design for you. There's going to be a lot of extras, but just take one and pass those along. There's all kinds of lesson plan formats out there. This chapter is all about planning. All kinds of lesson plans. You have the ICAP lesson plan that you love. That you love. Thank you. We had you do that. It's very specific, right? It's very scripted, right? We had you do that because as a new teacher, sometimes you don't plan an opening. Sometimes you don't plan a middle. Sometimes you don't plan an end. We did that so that you had to plan each part, that you had to add in technology, that you needed to add in differentiation for students. How long did your anticipatory set take? How long does this take? Did you do an I do, we do, you do? What's your assessment? So we have you do that ICAP. Will you do that all the time? Absolutely not. But if you can get that kind of thinking into your brain, your lessons will be better. Rather than just saying, well, I'm just going to teach the next page and go math. I don't even have to look at it. That's not a great teacher. This is one that I've used for science, but I really like this. What's your learning objective? How are you going to activate prior knowledge? So an anticipatory set, what are you going to do? How are you going to activate what they already know? How are you going to develop the concept to what you need them to know? Where's their skills? Modeling and guiding. So this is an I do for the teacher, a we do, guided practice, and then a you do. Always have a closure. The most frustrating thing I watch with even master mentor teachers is they say, okay, we're done with math, go back to your seat, do pages 21 and 22, and then you go to recess. You've left that hanging out there completely. You need to bring them back and say, what's one important thing you learned about double-digit multiplication? Who can give me one step? How would you use double-digit multiplication? When would you use them? Okay, good. You learned that. You learned that. You learned. See, you brought it back to your learning objective. You've left that with them in the mind. What I was supposed to learn was. And then they go. Always have a closure. Teachers often send them back to their seat to do a worksheet and then go to recess. Make sure you have a closure. This is just a little guide. Then on the back it talks about engage, explore, explain, elaborate. It's called the 5E lesson plan. This is another way to plan. These are ideas. You're going to do basic bullets. In a big plan book, like I have my plan book up there, that polka dot, you're probably going to put, here's my standard, here's my learning objective. Here's some things I might need to buy. That might be about it, right? Or you might copy the page in the Go Math book and make notes out to the side. I'm going to move this down here, I'm going to do this little game here. How long does that take you? Maybe 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, but at least you're not unaware of what's in the book. You've at least looked at it, right? You can use some of these ideas. I would read through these. These would be great interview questions. I had a principal say to me, how are you going to engage students at the beginning of the lesson? I'm tell them to open the book to page 5. That's not engaging, is it? How are you going to engage them? What's your anticipatory set? We used to call it sponge activities instead of filler activities. Said to the block, you have to come up with 5 sponge activities. Had one non-traditional student go home and cut out sponges in the shapes of letters. Not what I meant, not what I meant, but it worked. It was kind of a fun thing because then you dipped them in paint. You need to have some filler activities. That's why you're doing the math games. That's why we're doing the management activities. You'll have filler activities that you can put in. Maybe some of you can take this activity we just did about following directions and do that with a class, with narrative writing and how to follow directions. Maybe. You've seen the how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and they say take some peanut butter and you stick your hand in the peanut butter. And
Yes, I hated those.
but it really made you think, oh. So think about ideas. Questions about this? Are we good? Okay, chapter 2. We're going to move on quickly. What's a hot tip from chapter 2 that we missed out last week? Secret of classroom management.
I like the very last one, how not to be a screamer.
Oh my
So
gosh.
not to get super mad at the kids, but remember that they're kids and they're still learning.
Have you ever worked with a screamer? My sister was a screamer. We knew, the neighbors knew everything that went on. That was just her way. It wasn't necessarily bad on the kids, but what did it accomplish? Zero. What else?
I just wanted to add what Sheree said, because I wrote that, same. That's not being trauma informed, and I just really felt like we didn't yell in my family growing up, and when my teachers yelled, I learned nothing at all. And I also love that they say once you're at that point, you've already given your power away. They've already brought you to that point.
They've already tuned you out.
Yeah, and I don't know, that really resonated with me a lot.
That's awesome. Don't be a screamer. Sarah?
I like the idea of sending the class rules to the parents. Because then if you have a student who's not on task and is constantly not on task and stuff, you can tell the parents, and the parents already know, like, oh, these are what you're supposed to be doing in class.
I let my class come up with class rules. I said, we need 5 big rules. What are they going to be? Have fun, extra recess, lots of parties. Okay, and then don't steal people's stuff. So we came up with, raise your hand if you want to speak, ask if you want to borrow, have fun, shouldn't school be fun? So we had 5 rules. Then we had to come up with consequences. Make them stay in for a month of recesses. Who's that punishing, me or them? Call their mom. Tattle to their mom, one kid said to me. Tattle to their mom. Let's be realistic here. And so we talk about 5 minutes of recess, if you have to go to the bathroom when it's not time, 1 or 2 things that aren't going to kill them, that aren't going to hurt them. And then you type up the rules and the consequences, post it in your room. Then I had them all put a thumbprint. I agreed to follow the rules, put their thumbprint and sign under it. We were the 33 Musketeers or the 36 Musketeers. And I would just have to say, what's rule number 2? So you owe me 5. That's it. That's all there was to it. Till you get that defined, kid. Katie.
I really like the bill to bill thought, just that if you give your kids nothing to do, then they're gonna find something to do.
Amen. Had that little autistic boy in my class that pulled out all the staples. Nobody signed to it. Nobody signed it. Had my big bulletin board in the back, South Elementary. Every staple's gone marked. Teaching math one day and the whole bulletin board falls off. Going, what the heck? I go back to a neat little pile of staples with his fingernails. He pulled every staple. It stayed for a second, right? Nobody signed it. Nobody signed it. And I'm like, whoa, do. Anyway, have them something to do. They will find something to do if you don't have. If you don't say, when you're done, do one of these 3 things.
I really liked the discipline one about nip it in the bud early on, that way it doesn't escalate. And then don't react based on emotions or previous experience with students. And my grandma always says, you can't control people, places, or things. You can only control your reactions and your emotions.
Oh, what a great quote.
So,
Grandma said, you can't control people, places, or things.
But yeah.
But is that not true?
I mean,
I love that.
Yeah.
You can only control how you will react. If you react calm, and that's the hardest thing to do, you're going to have to practice. But if you react calm, kids will react calm. Morgan.
Going along with the rules, I like the thing where it said rules are few, but procedures are many. And so you have those few rules, but you have procedures for everything.
And what is the difference between rules and procedures?
A rule has a consequence. A procedure does not.
Exactly. Procedures are putting your books away. How to sharpen your pencil. Those are procedures. Rules are things that you break that have a consequence. Okay, so don't mix those up. Sometimes you have to have a procedure that you don't know about until something happens, right? Running in the hall or lining up. I'm going to be teaching lessons throughout the semester to you. Sometimes I'll walk you down the hall, sometimes we'll play games at recess, sometimes I'll teach science. When I'm teaching, 3 things you need to know. Raise your hand if you want to talk. Let's practice that. Start talking. Here's my signal. Stop talking. That's what that means. Let's practice again. Anybody have any questions about that? Rule number 2. Da, 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 da. Rule number 3. Now these are my rules. Mrs. Jones is a fabulous teacher and she has her rules, but these are my rules. Who can tell me what my rules are? What's number 1? What's number 2? What's number 3? Can we follow my rules when I'm teaching? Right? And then demand it. So many of you are afraid to do wait time. You do the macaroni and cheese. 2 people say, everybody freeze. No, wait. Oh, I didn't hear everybody's voice. We'll wait. Give it 10 seconds. Macaroni and cheese. Everybody freeze. Okay, that was just one I saw today. Does that make sense? Okay, what else? Anything from chapter 2? A lot more to management. I have 4 more handouts. We will practice defiant child management. You're teaching math. Kid walks in 10 minutes late. Sam, please get your math book out. No, I don't want to do math today. Okay. What are you going to do? Oh, you'll do math today. You can't make me. You want to see me go to the principal right now? No. What are you going to do? Come back in 2 weeks and I'll tell you. That's a preview. Okay, who has a management activity? Who wants to be last? Did you want to be last? So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me know if you need some help.
I might, just since we're running out of time.
Okay.
So, what? You guys are gonna think I'm crazy, but
We know you are. But it's okay.
I'm gonna have you all close your eyes, and me and Peggy are gonna go around and tape colored dots to your forehead. When it's taped to your forehead, you can open your eyes. But what you're gonna do is I'm gonna put you into groups of 4 or 3, depending on how many. And within your group, you're gonna try and figure out the color that's on your forehead. Your peers can act it out like based on emotion, or you can give tips like certain holidays have certain colors. You could give any tips without bluntly giving away the color of your peer's forehead. And the first team that has all of their colors correct wins. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you close your eyes now? Yeah, close your eyes. Do we lean forward or backwards? How are you coming? We need to see your forehead.
Okay, I'm going to put it on your forehead unless you have a habit of glasses, and then I'll put it up higher. Does that make sense? Your eyes are
Sorry,
closed.
that was a big piece.
Once I have touched you.
Oh, that's in your hair.
It's fine. Turn it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would never go bald. Okay, can I
If you
my
got a
eyes?
dot on your forehead, you can open your eyes.
Okay.
I feel complete.
You are spotted.
Your third eye.
Yeah. I know what you did there.
Here, did you give me a good color?
I did.
Oh, good.
Look on your hat. You might need to come a little closer. I made it very broken I might fall asleep. You might be able to see your, here, I'll do it. I want to know so bad. So you don't
Everybody's got one.
Oh, it's flat. Hang on, I need another picture. 4, 5, 6. So it's like 4 minutes. I have very maybe 8.
That works.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Okay, so we can do, I think I have another dot that you wanted to.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll close my eyes.
I feel comfortable, I was okay. Okay. Okay, so we could do 4, U4, U4, and if you want to join those 4.
You bet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, and then we're just
That's gonna be fun.
Yes.
Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Me?
Yes.
Right, so do we ask questions?
Another one.
The opposite of white.
Valentine's Day. Huh? Green. Oh my gosh!
You saw us first. Yes, we're by seconds.
How's it go?
Yeah, you guys have how did you get that?
It's pretty. Do you want to know what I said for this though?
No! It's like earthy. She said earthy, so I said green.
She's like green.
Fine.
So these are
I know what it's supposed to be.
I didn't really have
I like earthy. Paperwork you can get. More just like the rest of
So I've got teacher versus students, which a lot of people have heard about that. And so it's just like motivation to keep kids on task and like doing the rules.
That's awesome.
And so you can see on your little pamphlet, it's got a little template up there on the top that shows some rules. And then down at the bottom is just like a tally marker where you keep track of if students are following rules, you give them a point. If the teacher is following the rule because the students are not, then the teacher gets a point. And so just with your students, create like 3, max 5 rules with your class. Because after 5, it just gets too extreme. And so just throughout the day, when kids are on task, give the kids a point. And you want to keep it pretty even and be consistent. That's the biggest thing about the rules, is being consistent. So
That's cool.
kind of keep it where the teacher may be like a point ahead or like a point below or 2. You don't want them to feel defeated where they'll never pass up the teacher. And then, yeah, just throughout the day, give them points. Have it posted so that they can see, because they need to know. And then you can do this like daily, weekly, or monthly, and based on those are what prizes they can get. So like daily, they outperform the teacher, so maybe they get a piece of candy, everyone. Weekly, they get an extra 10 minutes of recess on Friday. And monthly, maybe like get a party. So that was like my motivation, and it's all flexible. So
And the teacher's motivation could be, we'll clean the room if I win.
there you go.
We'll clean your desks if I win. You know, you could do some things that weren't too much of a punishment. That's fun.
Yeah, and I have a Google slide that kind of goes through the different like steps, and you can get your own templates for free on the website. So just, it's there for you to print off. I would laminate at least your classes where you put your tally marks so that you can use your dry erase.
I would also do this, put compliments, and every time the teacher heard a student give another compliment, you know, like I had kids that were so brutal to each other, I said, I'm gonna look for compliments, and if we get 30 compliments, we're gonna have an ice cream party. But they had to be genuine. They couldn't just say, you're so cute. You know, it had to be real. And I got to deem whether it was real or not. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good
And
job.
then there's a place to print this off again on that slide if you need it. So,
Super cool.
Pretty
Good
easy.
job.
One more thing, Sean. My teacher uses this in her classroom and she lets them earn her points back. So if she has really good behavior, she'll erase her points.
Oh, good. I like that.
So mine is hot seat. You can use it as like a before test like review or like a formative assessment to see like how much they know. So I'm just gonna split the class in half at about showing over there. Like,
2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, that's
definitely
good.
on well.
They'll have 8. 2, 4, 6, 7. You can be either way because you're the decider.
Okay.
yeah, and then I need 2 volunteers. one from this team, one from this team.
I'll be on this team, that'll make it easier.
Okay. And then one from this, Sarah. Okay.
Do I get up?
Yeah, so you come
You're in the
up.
hot seat.
Oh my god.
Let's go, ladies.
And
Don't
then,
stop me, you guys.
so then you have the two people in the hot seat. So this team, you're gonna go like back and forth. You're gonna try to like give hints to what the vocabulary term is, so they can guess it. And like, so this team will go first, and you'll try to give a question, and this person can still hear the hint. So if this one gets it wrong, this team gets a chance to give another hint, and she has a chance to guess. Okay?
So she's gonna write it on the board, so you two shouldn't look.
Wait, did they
So,
Is there a certain theme, topic?
so it has to do with like teaching, class management, stuff like that.
Okay.
Something that you've probably heard in the last few years.
So we have to decide this to her now?
Yeah, so this team will give one hint to try to get Sierra to answer it correctly. If she doesn't guess correctly, then Sarah's team will try.
That's a really good one.
So you get 1 minute to like figure out what hint you're gonna give.
Thinking about improving and being able to.
Wait, is our hint one word or can it be a sentence?
It could be a sentence.
Okay, I think we should do that and we'll incorporate.
1 word, 2 words, 3 words. I don't know what's the list. All right, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Is it only one word?
No, this could be a sentence.
Oh, then let's do that. Why not?
Okay. Sierra's team first.
So just leave it blank.
Sierra's team first.
Okay, so the opposite of fixed blank.
Do you have a
Opposite of fixed.
Blank.
Oh.
And if she's talking about classroom management and all that.
Okay.
No, but that's what you said.
Okay, so.
And if you don't have a good guess, you can say.
I'll incorporate it. We'll just keep.
Yeah, we'll
Build
make
it.
I'm going to go with the pass.
Okay, it's when you think about being able to improve and you're open to new things and you believe that you can.
Growth mindset?
I'm so sorry.
No,
We didn't know anything.
we didn't know what to say.
I was like, the opposite of fixed. Yeah.
Fixed.
Yep, and then, so you can have like a tally.
Yes.
You can tally, like this team gets a point, this team doesn't, and like whoever wins, they could get 5 points, the losing team could still get 2 points, but don't tell them ahead of time, because then they'll be like, it doesn't matter. But you can also use this for other subjects besides vocabulary terms. You could do like math questions, like vocab, you could do descriptions, anything like that.
This is fun. Good job. Brittany, I'm going to ask you a favor.
Yeah.
Will you wait till next time?
Yeah.
Are you sure? If you want to do it now, we'll stay.
Just do
Well,
like,
yeah, like
I'm
prepared.
gonna
We
stay.
can, I can get to stay.
Well, like, I don't want to make people stay. I can stay.
We could vote.
No, next time I'll give you plenty of time to do it, and it sounds really fun, so I wanted to have fun.
Oh, it's a surprise.
Because I can read your mind. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, guys, thanks for everything today. We kind of had to cram a lot in because we're a week behind. Now we're on schedule, so I promise we will keep more within what we're doing. Any questions before tomorrow?
I'm gonna get my new placement from for GTUsaoptan.
Oh, yes, will you follow